The maddening and heartbreaking killing of Jordan Neely is many things. What it's not is surprising. The truth is that New York City is just the epicenter on a wider nationwide crisis of American failures when it comes to mental health treatment and our homeless community. So let me put a few truths on the table before we go further. Number one, untreated mental health more times than not leads to and lives alongside homelessness. Number two, all of these challenges have gotten a lot worse during the pandemic, and they remain at that low. Number three, the blackness of Jordan Neely's skin already made him vulnerable to harm and even to death. Why? Well, because blackness, especially on a man, well, it makes him automatically perceived by many as threatening, violent, and dangerous. Number four, New York City subways are some of the most dangerous places in the entire country. And y'all know I know that firsthand. Number five, while it happened to be a white civilian that killed Jordan Neely, we all know that it could have just as easily been a member of law enforcement. And then the real sad tea is that we also know that while Neely's killer happens to be white, he could have just as easily been black. So now that we have those basic facts on the table, let's go deeper into the analysis. The fact that Neely's killer, and I do say killer intentionally because we do have an official cause of death, which is homicide, so the fact that Neely's killer still has not been arrested, it's a failure. See, one of the lessons that I think we all should have taken from Trayvon Martin and his tragedy was where it took state prosecutors some 8 weeks, almost 2 months, also a plea from President Obama, and nonstop national press coverage before they even charged George Zimmerman in the killing of a 17-year-old boy. And yet here we are again, with an almost analogous fact pattern. A black boy or black man was killed, and we've even got the video footage to prove it. A killer was white or white presenting. And law enforcement decides to play judge and jury and call it self-defense. Thus, no charges being brought initially. And that means no justice is being pursued. Now, we all know how this story ends. And the reality is it should have never even started. See, first of all, as New York City public advocate Jumaane Williams told us all today, New York City has no actual plan to reduce the harm and killing of the homeless and mentally ill population. Now, we've got some tactics, and we know that they include the involuntary commitments, which many say are necessary. But, y'all, we can't confuse an acute tactic with an actual plan. Second, Daniel Penny should have been arrested immediately. Not 2 weeks after the killing, not 2 months after the killing. He should have been arrested immediately after he took a human being's life. Now listen, if he wants to claim self-defense, that's his business. In fact, it is his legal right. But self-defense is an affirmative defense and is to be raised at trial and then determined by the trier of fact, which is always a judge or a jury. It is never local law enforcement. So now what? It's being reported that Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg has convened a grand jury, and they will decide whether Daniel Penny will be charged in the killing of 30-year-old Jordan Neely. Now, if they indict, then trial, then perhaps justice. If they vote to not indict, well, that's not necessarily the end of the story. See, DA Alvin Bragg can still choose to bring charges in his own independent capacity as the district attorney. And then, of course, there's always the DOJ. As always, here at theGrio, we will follow the facts, and we will pray for what we always pray for when it comes to these matters. We will pray for justice.